Hello, everyone. Welcome to Uniting Business Live. This session is Marketing the SDGs, Business Leaders Discuss Purpose-Driven Marketing. My name is Natalia Vega-Berry. I am the founder and Chief Marketing and Impact at the Global Brain, and I will be your host for this session today. Before I introduce our panelists, I would like to give you a little bit of background why this conversation matters in the context of the UN General Assembly, especially in the year of 2020. We're going through unprecedented times. Brands and purpose are a new business imperative, and technology is becoming a facilitator. I think many of you will agree that marketing is a discipline that is more needed than ever before. It is closer to the consumer, to culture, and to the fast-changing landscape that is bringing humanity to the central point. I think we can say that this is coming or bringing us a perfect storm of opportunity to bring about the Sustainable Development Goals for those brands who are willing to boldly answer the situation of this moment. The business leaders who are going to join us today are going to share best practices and discuss how the organizations are integrating purpose-driven actions. So with further ado, I'm very honored to introduce Fernando Machado, Chief Marketing Officer at Burger King, Stephanie Buscemi, Chief Marketing Officer at Salesforce, my colleague Dave Kingsbury, Chief Strategy at the Global Brain, and we're thrilled to have Brian Whipple, CEO of Accenture Interactive. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. We'll have 10 minutes with our panelists and we'll go to a Q&A. So please, to the audience, the chat is there for questions to be submitted. So let's get this started. Fernando, the floor is yours.
I will start by saying thanks for the invitation to join. It's always an honor to join any of the events from the Global Compact. I'm a big fan of the work that you guys do. It's a work that's, as you said, is an imperative these days. And it's just great to be part of this. And if I can share something that can help others follow the same path or learn from the good things and the mistakes that we've done, I'm always happy to do that. So my name is Fernando Machado. I'm the Global CMO for Restaurant Brands International. We have 3 brands here at Restaurant Brands International. The biggest brand, the largest brand that we have is Burger King. It's kind of like global known, like everyone knows Burger King. But we also have 2 other brands. We have Popeyes, which is like a fried chicken brand, and Tim Hortons, which is a coffee, baked goods brand that's very strong in Canada. I will start by saying that around 2-3 years ago, we had like a bit of like a soul-searching exercise to redefine our vision as a company. And we call the vision here internally our big dream. And the big dream that we define for our business and for our brands is to basically to have the most loved brands of the restaurant industry. And I love that, you know, because I think that the previous articulation of our vision was very like financially driven, which might not be necessarily as inspiring. And it was a little bit short-term focus. You know, like when I think about how we are going to build the most loved brands in the restaurant industry, I think that that in itself creates the need for a better balance between short-term and long-term. You know, of course, the short-term is important. I don't think any CMO or CEO will survive a year on the job if he or she is not delivering results. So we do need to deliver results. But as we deliver the results, we also need to look further in the horizon to think about what are the things that I have to be doing today that will help my brand and my company continue to be relevant on the long run. So with that big dream, it became inevitable. It became an imperative for us to do work around improving the quality of the food, to do work around environmental sustainability, and to do around people and communities. All those things that have a longer term impact for the brand and for the business. So out of the exercise that we did to create our new vision, we developed a framework which we call Restaurant Brands for Good. And Restaurant Brands for Good basically like has three pillars of work. One pillar which is around food, another pillar that's around planet, and another pillar that's around people and communities. And what do we do underneath those pillars? Well, I mean, we try to link the Sustainable Development Goals. So each pillar kind of like focus in, and there is some overlap, but each pillar kind of focus on specific SDGs that we work towards. So in the case of food, just as an example, we are working to improve like the nutritional profile of the food we serve with our three brands. We are working to remove artificial ingredients from our three brands. We are working in terms of providing more transparency around the supply chain, and so on and so forth. In the pillar of planet, which is more like, I would say, like environmental sustainability, we also have some really important streams of work. Like we have stream of work around and we have commitments around that. We have stream of work around reducing or eliminating single-use plastic from the toys that we have. Like when you buy like a kid's meal that comes with a toy, well, I have a 5-year-old and a 9 months old, and my 5-year-old plays with the toy for 5 minutes. He's very excited when he gets it, but after 5 minutes, it goes to the bin. He doesn't play it anymore. So it's basically like single-use plastic. And Burger King, if you think about it, we are the second largest plastic toy manufacturer in the world because of that. Like it's a business of scale. So any small, even small thing that we do can have like an incredible impact for people out there. And in terms of people and communities, we have a lot of work around diversity and inclusion. We as a company reached like 100% corporate equality index from the Human Rights Campaign, which shows how inclusive we are when it comes to LGBTQ. We have commitments that we made public around diversity. All our board, including myself, have targets around diversity and inclusion. So we really made that a priority. It was already a priority before, but it became even more so of a priority with everything that has happened this year around Black Lives Matter, around all the social tensions, and how divided the world is at the moment. And we are doing all this work while strengthening our brand. So all the work that we do, whether it's on planet, whether it's on people and communities, or on food quality, we do bringing to life the brand. You know, like so it all comes with the tone of voice of the brand. I did put aside some of that work just to illustrate how you can turn work that is a really behind into advertising or into something that becomes more face, which can propel your brand to success. And one of the examples that I would like to show is a project that we call Project Meltdown. So I will just play the video. I think it's on cue, and I will talk a little bit about it. I wonder if the guys can help me with the Project Meltdown video. Thank you.
Wait, did that just say...
It was how we announced that we were like removing plastic toys from the UK. UK is one of our key markets around the globe, and Party with Kids, which is how we call that segment of our business, is a large segment in the UK, and we took the action there of removing plastic toys, and we made the commitment that by 2025 we are going to remove plastic toys from all across the globe. And it's not easy to do that. You know what I mean? Like I was hearing a presentation today that someone was saying a purpose without a cost implication or monetary impact is just a tagline. And it's true. Like we are trying to take action and do things for real, concrete things that will have an impact. And then if there is an opportunity to talk about those things, we do. I'm not going to show to you, but like you can search Moldy Whopper, which was a campaign that we did around removing artificial ingredients and improving nutrition of our products. I could talk about Cow's Menu, which is a partnership that we did with scientists in Mexico and in the US to collaborate, which is a key word, I think, that in the for us when it comes to accomplishing our targets, but to collaborate to find a solution to reduce methane emissions in cattle. So imagine this, like a Burger King partnering with scientists from Mexico and the US, and we're expanding that partnership. We are publishing research papers showing that there are some additives that you can add to the cow feed, to the cattle feed, which will reduce methane emissions in up to 33%. So this is the type of project, this is the type of real concrete thing that we want to do because we want our brand and our company to be relevant 5-10 years from now. So just to wrap it up, I want to leave you with just three things which I think are important for you to keep in mind. One, which is there is no other way. If you want to be successful on the medium long run, you have to have your brands and your company doing things like this. You need to embrace the SDGs and create concrete plans that will take action and that will improve your footprint, that will do better for the planet and for people out there. Point number two, it's like I always tell my team, like I want to see action, not ads. Of course that you can have an ad to capitalize on all your efforts and make people aware of what you've done, but you need to first take action. We only communicated around LGBTQ after as we were improving the corporate equality index of the company. We only communicated that we were cleaning up the ingredients after we did the work for 4 or 5 years. We only communicated Cow's Menu after doing the work for 2 years. We only communicated removal of plastic toys after we removed the plastic toys. So it's really important that we as marketeers push for action, not just advertising. And the last one is it's not easy. And people always come to me and say, like, oh my God, but this is so difficult. How are we going to do that? And I know it's not easy, and it's not going to get any easier. And when people come to me and say, oh, it's so difficult, how will we do that? The response that I give to them is like, yes, it is difficult. And that's why the business needs us. If it were not difficult, the business would not need us. So let's be the change we want to see around us, and let's push to do the right thing for our brands and for the company, for the medium and for the long run, because that will only benefit people and the planet.
Thank you, Fernando.
That's my plea. So going back to you, Natalia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those insights, and looking forward to learn more about how Burger King and RBI is addressing this very important sustainability, journey. Going into next, we'll have Stephanie Buscemi, CMO of Salesforce, sharing her presentation with us. Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I look forward to building on everything Fernando was saying. I couldn't agree more with his second point about action, just the necessity that we have a responsibility as marketers to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Yes, we are amplifiers of a company's brand and message. We're also amplifiers of the company's action, and that's so important that we do that. So just before I dive in, I just first want to say thank you for having me. This is an incredibly important forum, and I know everyone at Salesforce is really happy to be a part of it. To give you kind of a backdrop for how we're thinking about the SDGs, I think it goes back to Salesforce as a company is truly committed to a core set of values, and those values have been in place for 21 years for the company. So it's trust, it's customer success, it's innovation, and equality of every human being. And those 4 core values really decide and drive every decision in the company, from really the smallest decisions to the largest decisions. And we believe that with all that is happening right now in the world, getting back to your core values is never more important. It anchors us back, and it's really the driver for our decisions right now as we look at everything. We really see that values are creating value. Our CEO often says that business is the greatest platform for change, And we truly believe that. And we see that the UN Sustainable Development Goals really just inspire us as an organization. We've adopted your framework and it helps to guide us. You are solving with action plans some of the world's biggest challenges, and you're inspiring us on how to plug in with that. To give you a little bit of context on how we're doing today, Salesforce, we're close to 50,000 employees around the world, and we've put over 50 billion in funding. We started the company really with a different kind of vision. We wanted to build a different kind of company. Our founder and our co-founder 21 years ago, when they were very small, said, we don't want to just build great products and services. We want to improve the state of the world. And that was lofty when it was 2 people. And now it's really impactful when it's over 50,000 people. And it starts for us really around giving back. Early on, we made that decision around giving back. And we have a framework that we use called 111. That means that we're giving 1% of all of our employees' time, 50,000 people strong, 1% of their time, 1% of our products, and 1% of the equity of the company back out to nonprofits around the world. It's really come into good play here with COVID-19 because it's making us rethink our place in the world and how can we do even more. The pandemic has shown us, like, businesses are powerful platforms for change. We can right now be educating, elevating, empowering, and helping others learn, helping everyone out there. So we're very committed, not just Salesforce, but the really large ecosystem that we have of partners to help the SDGs on these pressing issues. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're going about that. You know, we looked at the SDGs and we said, could we successfully tackle all of these on our own? And we didn't feel that we could successfully tackle all of them. We looked and said, where can we put our energies and drive the greatest impact as a company? And we have this conversation with our customers every day. We identified 7 SDGs, and I'm going to talk to you about the action that we're putting behind those, but we're also making a call out to our customers and public and private sectors to say, we're all on the hook here to advance against these goals. So the 7 that we're really focusing on as a company, education, affordable and clean energy, sustainable cities and communities, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, climate action, and life on land. We look at it because we know we can drive the biggest impact because we look, our customers are a reflection of us. We call it an ohana. That's not just our employees and our partners, it's our customers as well. And we look with them to say, what are the things that we need to solve and give them our tools so that they can strategize a plan of attack with a single goal in mind, find a solution, and activate fast. We're doing these programs together with them, which is enabling them and us to be nimble and supporting these goals that we have out there. As a company, we believe in this notion of better capitalism, that we're not just here to support our shareholders, but equally our stakeholders. We want a better model. And some of the things we've done against these 7 SDGs are, first, we've donated over 17 million in grants and committed 1 million employee volunteer hours to advance progress on these 17 SDG goals. For gender equality, just this year alone, we've pledged 10 million in equal pay. That is something that we started years ago, and we continue to stay focused on that every day. For the areas of decent work and economic growth, we've pledged to America's workers. We've pledged to train over 1 million workers for new tech jobs. We want to make the access to technology democratic. We want technology to be accessible to everyone, not just advanced degrees, not just people in lab coats for data science. We want to make it accessible to everyone, and our commitment is to reskill and get 1 million more new tech jobs out there for the underrepresented. The reality is, within all of this, when I think about tech, we have a lot of trust building to do. Customers are driving a trust revolution right now and demanding that companies lead with their values. We implement an annual survey, and it shows right now that 92% of customers make their buying decisions on more than just the products and services that they have. They're making it based on the values and how that company is showing up in the communities that it operates. Is it giving back? Is it operating for a set of stakeholders and not just a set of shareholders? That's how we are working on building trust right now. And we're working with our customers to figure out how do we do that in this now all digital first world. Every company, this is the new normal. Our value proposition as a company is to help companies and customers connect and to help companies do that digitally. So we've seen a massive acceleration towards that. And we want to help those companies, not just with their businesses, but how are they giving back? One of the key areas I mentioned at the beginning for us is quality. We donated $118 million for public education. We encourage all of our execs within our company to adopt a school. So every executive in our company, it's not just a financial donation. We actually adopt a school in our neighborhood or somewhere we believe needs help. And we go and we're sitting down with the principal of that school and we're having a dialogue and we're having a conversation with the community about what they need and helping them to make sure that those things happen. Another kind of key focus area under the just really talking about action is we put people and planet first. We really want to be effective stewards of planet and the prosperity of like our future generations, everything. We know that we have urgent challenges here on climate change. Some of our execs were here at this forum yesterday talking about this, and we want to create a sustainable and low carbon future for everyone out there. Our actions, our aggressive commitments and actions are 100% renewable energy by fiscal year 22, which we are entering next year for us. Lead platform offices and supply chain engagement. We have completely reimagined the way we operationalize and how we work within our supply chain and what we're asking of our vendors and partners, and the building out of our real estate properties and offices. Our operations, our products, everything right now, carbon neutral. We've also created a step-up coalition, this is to engage other companies to commit these actions and to be part of it so that we have a camaraderie and a sense of teamwork around doing this together. We've actually created a product to help with this. It's called the Salesforce Sustainability Cloud. And the Sustainability Cloud is a carbon accounting tool. And it enables businesses to track, to analyze, and report reliably on all of their environmental data and ultimately help reduce their carbon emission. I actually can look at down to this footprint of every employee on my team on that app on my phone. And it changes the way we work. When we actually see our carbon footprint every day, it changes the way we work and it helps towards conservation, restoration, and growth. We are very focused as part, we're very focused just as our trees and 1 trillion trees out there. So you will see out here at the event, our digital tree tracker also built on the Salesforce platform to help with our goal of 100 million trees to build out there. So I think you see my passion. I'm excited about it. We are as a company, and thank you. Back to you, Natalia.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Amazing how Salesforce mobilizing. Looking forward to learn more again. So thank you for sharing that. So moving on next, I am going to introduce my colleague, Dave Kingsbury. He will be sharing with us the Breakthrough Campaign, the United Nations Global Compact, United in the Business of a Better World. So Dave, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Fernando and Stephanie. I took a couple of notes. Both of your stories are inspiring, and we very much appreciate your participation. Brian, look forward to hearing what you have to say as well. We're going to start with a quick video to set this up. So see you in a sec.
Of all the things that divide us, there is one thing that unites us. We are united to end poverty, to provide global health, to create a sustainable world. We are united despite our differences, despite our branding, despite corporate red tape. We're united across the globe for the globe. We're united for our children, for your children, for their children's children. We're united no matter what language we speak. No matter how daunting the task may seem, we are united by possibilities. We're united because this is bigger than one business, because we are better together. We are united because we believe in order to change the world, we need to unite as one. Of all the things that divide us, the common good is what unites us. We all have the same job. We are united in the business of a better world.
So what we're going to do is move to the campaign and share the UN Global Compact's 20th anniversary campaign. Okay, so United in the Business of a Better World, we're going to talk a little bit about of the campaign and how it relates to everything we're talking about today. The mission here was to work with companies like RBI, Burger King, and Salesforce, and Accenture, and leverage the voice and platform of these brands to reimagine, rebuild, and reframe a more equal and resilient world. We believe that we can scale these values through brands and corporations to thousands of companies all around the world, and this campaign will be the brands that will make that change. We're assuming most people are somewhat familiar with the United Nations Global Compact. In 1999, Kofi Annan envisioned this. I propose that you, the business leaders, and we, the United Nations, initiate a global compact of shared values and principles which will give a human face to the global market. Work on this public-private partnership to really affect change. And I think, Stephanie, I'll quote you and say, you said, rethink our place in the world. I think that is very pertinent to how the UN Global Compact started 20 years ago. A couple of statistics. The UN Global Compact is the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. Over 11,000 companies, almost 30% of those are Fortune 500, and it's around for 20 years, moving into what we are calling the decade of delivery. We saw a few of the SDGs earlier, and I think Stephanie said it well as well, that these are a roadmap or a great framework as we move forward into the new world that we're working towards. I think we're all living most of this pretty much every day. We're very honored and fortunate to spend time with Paul Pullman in Davos this year, and we wanted to share one of his quotes because we think it's very relevant to the conversation. He talked about companies directing their resources, people, processes, and technology towards solving problems over selling products. The idea of community has never been strong locally, globally, internationally, everywhere. This was a consumer survey, and 83% of consumers said brands must help bring people together and foster community. So speaking of coming together in community, we'll take a very quick look at the campaign. Last October, I should note that all of this was well pre-COVID, and it was very eerie to us when we were in Europe, going around filming some of these leaders, that even pre-COVID, everyone was talking about this necessity to unite, to come together, to work together. We gathered some policy folks, some UN folks, and some of our creative friends in Boulder in the fall and came up with this United in the Business of a Better World. So to show just 4 possible executions to share the sort of zeitgeist, the energy of the campaign. I want to stress that these are concepts. So here we obviously see some very disparate logos coming together to illustrate what if Nestle and Disney came together to work on specific issues that were close to their hearts or in their more in their worlds. We love this, and Fernando, you set us up perfectly. I hope everyone saw what Burger King and McDonald's did for the Helsinki Pride Day. The tagline of the campaign was "Love Conquers All," and it was the Burger King and Ronald McDonald kissing. And I just think it's such a fabulous example of disruptive creativity out in culture to stimulate different conversations. So thank you for that one, Fernando. Another example with our friends at Unilever, uniting finally, talking about working in different verticals and having companies, exactly like the example of Burger King and McDonald's, Levi's come together and take on a specific issue that they share. In this example, we were talking about clean water. So the bar is high, necessarily high. These are outcomes, desired outcomes of the campaign. Achieve the SDGs, build community, show brand leadership, show what brands and corporations can do to lead change. Really cultural transformation, which in our world, advertising and communication, and literally transform society. Leverage our brands as a catalyst for systemic change that the world is seeking collectively. And to end on, not our collective dent in the universe moment. Something we all ourselves, our kids and future generations can look back on and be incredibly proud of. That's what we're aiming. So we're asking our brands to affect this change, and we can talk about it in the Q&A or after the follow-up. So with that, I pass back to our fabulous moderator.
Thank you, Dave. Very excited. I know I'm biased with the campaign. We've been working really hard in past months with the United Nations, so this is really great. So now moving on, I'm very excited to introduce to Brian Whipple. We're very thrilled, Brian, that you can join us today. He's the CEO of Accenture Interactive. So Brian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Natalia, and the broader team, and thank you for having me. I think without further ado, why don't we just cue the video, hopefully with sound, and I'll pick up right when that's over.
Hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity, hippity hopping over hill and dale.
So what you saw there is hopefully provocative and interesting to you. If you could just go to the next slide, please. Ultimately, we put a man on the moon more than 50 years ago. And what you saw there, after we put that man on the moon, can we put the slides up?
Yeah, they're coming, Brian, just a second.
Okay, no worries. What you saw there are all the things that have happened since then. Now look at what we can do. We can order cars from our phones, and we know their track record and their history. We know exactly when we are going to arrive somewhere. We can do all kinds of crazy vacations. Our lives are filled with efficiency, driven by innovation. So you would think if we could put a man on the moon 50 years ago and we can do all of those things today, that we're virtually unstoppable. Yet, look around in the environment in which we humans live more broadly. Recent events have only made that even more compelling. Regardless of your position on vaccinations, the reality is a big chunk of the world's children don't even have the luxury of a choice of a vaccination. Now, immediately people go to healthcare and supply chains and funding and policy. The reality is vaccinations need refrigeration. And much of the world's child population does not have access to refrigeration, which is an issue is not typically seen. Go to the next slide, please. The homeless situation and basic sanitation are provocative problems that have continued to exist for years and still exist in the billions in our worldwide community. Next slide, please. Electricity situation has actually improved significantly. Countries such as Myanmar, Kenya, others have really taken broad strides there. But the expectation is that by the year 2030, another 10 years, still some 600+ million will not have access to electricity. Next slide. So I ask you and I ask myself, how can this be? Because it seems that today we can do anything. So why is this? So you have to wonder what could possibly be stopping us. And the first question I get when we pose this question is, next slide, please. Is the financial climate or economic environment such that we can't solve these problems? And the reality is that's just not the case. The venture capital raised in the world, quite high. Investments in digital health, which has to do with a lot of these things, quite high. Have any of you been to the Consumer Electronics Show every January in Las Vegas? Well, you'll see all kinds of investment-funded innovations. But what are they innovating? I went there last year and saw between 15 and 20 innovations that helped digitally process cat litter. So in that context, what are we going to do? More and more money of the world is being invested according to sustainable principles. So it seems like the reason is not business climate. So what about another possible reason? Let's go to the next page. Let's take a look at this. So is driving a purposeful business good business? You heard Dave, Fernando, and Stephanie all touch on this. It is the business of the future. And I won't read these slides to you, but consumers, particularly tomorrow's consumers, want to be in the middle of brands that they identify with. They know where those products are sourced from, and they agree with their principles at least a high level. So it seems like good business. Now let's look at a specific dynamic that is upcoming. Next slide, please. So can we just go to the next slide? Okay, great, perfect, thank you. So this handsome guy on the left, let's go back. Well, when we get to that slide, what you'll see is this handsome guy on the left, he's got the money. However, that wealth across the world is about to be transferred to the millennial, Gen X, and younger generations. This is a worldwide phenomenon. And that has been occurring for years and years and years. But what's different is that the buyer values of the owners of the funds on the left are drastically different than the buying values, the future buying values of the owners of these funds on the right. And that is going to directly influence how brands and companies invest. Next slide, please. So the bottom line is that having a purpose is good business. It is the business of the future. Now, why am I talking to you about this? Next slide, please. What role do we play? Next slide. So I'm fortunate enough to run a large, what we call experience agency. Some would call it a digital agency. We do all kinds of commerce technology. Yes, we do advertising. We do lots of things with and for many of the clients that you've heard about, for the corporate and government and citizens of the world. But what's happened is that people used to create brands by advertising. People used to create them by telling you something. And if I told you strongly enough, in a compelling way, and most of all, consistently enough, in theory, you would begin to believe those aspects of the brand. Now, brands are not built from advertising. They're built from experiences. And advertising is simply, as is technology, one of the enablers of that experience. Look at how Uber built its brand, okay? Regardless of how you feel about that brand was built solely on experience, not on advertising. Next slide, please. So you see, marketing can actually drive sustainable growth by creation of compelling experiences for patients, citizens, consumers of the world, to really, for agencies such as ours, such as all of the great agencies in the world, to take responsibility to work with their clients, to really laser in at the intersection of both purpose and innovation. We have to do more. The creativity is there in the world to solve bigger problems than digital cat litter processing. Next slide, please. Take a look at this one quick example. This is an energy company in Sweden. So their mission was to keep Sweden, make Sweden a warmer place, but not just taking literally, taking figuratively. So with Google Home technology, they now have a tool to combat Stockholm's biggest problem, loneliness. People have a very long life expectancy there, which is great, obviously, but it creates a certain loneliness problem amongst its elder population. This technology allows elderly people to recount stories, and it will actually interview them and produce a physical printed book of the stories of how they met a loved one, when they were in the military 60 years ago, what life was like when they were a child, that they can then pass on to their generations. All driven, enabled by technology, but created as an experience by an energy company. Next page, please. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Babylon Health, but the bottom line is seeing a doctor has been a cumbersome process for all of us around the world since all of us have been alive, but at least we could see one. Now, villagers in rural Rwanda can also see a doctor through the telemedicine efforts of companies like Babylon Health. Next slide, please. So ultimately, these consumers of the world, the future of the world, they deserve experiences that aren't just more efficient, but help make their lives more meaningful, more robust. And ultimately, it's the marketers, the creators, those that can harness technology and creativity, need to shoulder more of responsibility to create that change in the world for some of the tier 1 problems that still exist. Thank you for the time. Natalia, back to you.
Thank you, Brian. Looking forward to learn more. It's really exciting how technology is becoming a facilitator nowadays, especially in these times. Thank you for those insights. So we can move on into a Q&A. Fernando, Stephanie, do you guys want to? And we can have a very brief discussion. We have still 15 minutes left. I have a few questions that some of our friends wanted to ask. So I will pose these questions to our friends, the CMOs. So Stephanie, this is a question that we can start with you. Do you think the role of the CMO has changed or evolved recently based on the rapid industry transformation, especially now in our current times? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a little biased on this topic, but I'll tell you what I think. I tell my team all the time, and I tell other CMOs, I don't think there's a better time to be a CMO. Not for the faint of heart, but I think there's a real opportunity for CMOs right now to step up. And what I mean by that is twofold. One, in putting the customer at the center. The natural place where we sit, we're storytellers and we're amplifiers. And so for us to be agents of engaging with the customer, communicating with the customer, listening to the customer, co-creating with the customer, we're just where we sit in an organization, we're poised to do that. So I always encourage in my own organization and in other organizations, when talking to people, like, be the advocate for the customer like you've never been before. The other piece is that we talk a lot in our companies about product versus purpose. We talk about values. And I think a lot of CMOs right now have an opportunity to help their companies with this. I feel a little bit spoiled because I work for a company that is so clear about its values. and those values influence every decision we make. But I do believe in the pandemic right now, companies' values are being challenged, and a CMO can come in, our role is expanded on the customer as well as our purpose. Stepping in, say, what is our purpose and what are the actionable programs that we have in place? I'm not just going to talk about it, to Fernando's point, I'm only going to walk the walk. So the CMO can really take the company in a positive way to task, to say, what are those programs? Are we investing enough? Are we doing enough across the organization? It's exciting.
Great. Absolutely. Fernando, your thoughts?
No, I agree with Stephanie. I think that if anything, when you ask like what has changed, I think that the context and the environment has changed a bit in the sense that many changes that were already happening got accelerated during the pandemic, right? I mean, it's no news that digital is growing in importance, but like during the pandemic, it became the only way to almost to sell for us, right? I mean, with contactless payment, with delivery, yeah. It's no news that health and wellness is important, but if you look at the sentiment of people during the pandemic regarding that specific attribute or characteristic, it became more important. So I think that in a world that's very volatile, and in a year that has been a crazy year for everyone, where lots of things have changed around us, our role, because we are the guardian of the consumer or of the people, right? I mean, as Stephanie said, because those people have changed and the things that they want have changed a little bit, got accelerated, then it puts a lot of responsibility on us to be able to help shift the organization to cope with those changes. You know, like I think that one of the key like roles that I feel all CMOs have is, yes, look at what's happening outside, connect with the guest in our case, and of the brand fans or of the people, and understand what they need, but also push the organization to find the right balance between short-term and long-term. You know, and you can expand your impact on the organization by pushing the organization to look at some of the long-term things, which sometimes don't come so naturally to people or some other areas of the business.
Yes, thank you, Fernando. So for Brian, in case you are a CEO, so what does it mean for you to be a CEO of Accenture Interactive now in 2020 of all years? If you can share some thoughts about it.
Yeah, it is interesting. You know, I would say not from foresight, but more from fate or coincidence. It's been a bit of a doubling down on our strategy. We've had the strategy of trying to create experiences at the intersection of purpose and innovation for about 2 years now. And I would say we've had modest success, but we also need to do more. And when you have the issue of racial relations and COVID and gender equality and all of these tier 1 issues that need more and more attention, it only just magnifies that. And so I feel a very strong and heavy personal responsibility to actually create real action around that, not just words. And we're in constant dialogue with our clients, and they're being very responsive. I mean, of course, not all businesses are equally healthy during the pandemic, and so that is one of the key factors. But you know, it is a privilege to be in the broader marketing space right now, because I personally believe it's needed more than ever, and having that perspective is, I think, what most leaders need to have right now.
So what do you see now, the future of marketing and advertising, especially?
Yeah, I think advertising will absolutely continue to exist. I think there will always be, I mean, there's so much quality content right now that people are watching, whether it be on social media or on television or on other new vehicles, that there will always be advertising that accompanies that. So advertising will continue to live and prosper and thrive. The question is, what is the advertising going to say? And I believe it will move more and more towards helping companies identify a purpose and really create a more meaningful world for its consumers. And I think companies are spending a ton of time right now. Stephanie happens to work at a company that's extremely advanced in this space. Not all companies are. Some companies don't know exactly what their purpose is and what they stand for. And agencies need to take the responsibility of helping to do that, and to create advertising campaigns to bring their purpose to life. I think you're going to see a lot less frivolous advertising and frivolous innovations in the next few years.
Yes, looking forward to that. It'll be very, very refreshing. Dave, I would like to hear your thoughts about how, listening to Stephanie, Fernando, and Brian, how do you see the commonalities with the United Business campaign and with this project we've been working on for some time?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, on your cat litter comment, just hit me like a club, and I think it's perfect. Fernando, you said something. You said action, not ads. Being a reformed advertising person, I really, really like that saying. And Stephanie, you said rethink our place in the world in community. And I think in really having the privilege of working with the UN now for only 7 years, trying to help, and Brian, you said it too, marketers and communicators have a responsibility to help their clients tell people who they are. Yep. And what they are, and find that essence. And I think that exercise in advertising for me has always been interesting, that distillation process of, okay, what are you really about? What are you really about? Because whether you're selling cars or personal electronics or hamburgers, you're not really about that. You stand for something else, and that's why consumers come to you. When we were reading transcripts from Davos and had these moments of, oh my God, they're talking about COVID, but it hadn't happened yet. And it was really kind of shattering to think about that. So I think I'm so inspired by having highly intelligent people like you all, and Dan and a lot of people that we can't see, having this top of mind. And I think if we put our heads together and unite in the business of a better world, we can make that happen. And we've looked at this part through a few storms and a few bumps in the road, because we really, really believe that we can all be better together.
Thank you. Thank you. I was thinking about, what you were saying, Dave, in terms of uniting and all the, all what we hear from the panelists, and definitely the first one who have bold actions are the ones who go in the forefront. And Fernando, you, for example, came up with a campaign that was very, public facing. It was really loud out in culture in the world. So how was your insights? How was being taken by your consumers? We'd love to hear about it, a little bit about it, if to kind of wrap things up as well.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of two things. I think it's a mix of the insights that we have and our consumer understanding. I mean, understanding of people out there, with our own convictions of like what is the right thing to do. You know what I mean? Like if you look at the values from RBI, diversity and inclusion is there because we believe that the more diverse voices you have on the table, the better the outcome will be. So we have programs around D&I for like different minority groups. We over-index on Hispanic. We invest to make sure that we are an inclusive place when it comes to LGBTQ. We still have a long way to go, and we can do better in terms of African Americans. But like this is work, this is actions, right? I mean, we believe that in the long run, we'll be better at what we do because we have a diverse set of voices on the table, which is part of our beliefs and values. Now, so this is the conviction side. Then, because of that, we sponsor pride parades around the globe. Because of the way our brand behaves, we can come up with ideas like the one that you guys touched on, which is the KISS. That was part of a sponsorship of the Pride Parade in Helsinki, in Finland. It was not the first thing we did on that topic. We sponsor Pride Parades all across the globe, in Brazil, Spain, we did in the UK, we did in the US. So that's like conviction plus understanding of what makes people tick, let's say. coming together. Same for Cow's Menu. You know what I mean? Cow's Menu is the project that we did to reduce methane emissions by adding 100 grams of lemongrass on the cattle feed, and no consumer is coming to us saying like, "Hey, I want you to reduce methane from my beef." We know that's a problem because we have done the work, or we know we could do better. Let's put it that way. And lots of people are doing work on that field too. So it's part of the conviction. And then because we know our consumer, I need to wrap that up in a way to make it relevant to them so they understand what we are trying to do. So it's always these two things. It's like, what do you think is right based on your vision, based of the company, right? Based on the values that your company have, and tying that to like what the consumers, what people that are your target or that you are trying to improve your brand perception or penetrate. What do they think and what do they like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we are on time to finish. I just want to say again, thank you all for your participation. This has been a very important conversation in the context of the UN General Assembly. It's the first time the UN Global Compact is hosting this dialogue because they recognize the importance of this industry and the voice it has in the world and culture, especially for what we're going through right now. So I'm looking forward to continue engaging in more actions, in more discussion, and bringing this, different brands, different friends like yours into this conversation moving forward to push the sustainable development goals. So again, thank you so much all. And I think we're going to spend a couple of minutes in the backstage, if that will be okay with you all.
Thank you.